Welcome, everybody, to the wrestling-related podcast. You know the drill. All the topics are related to wrestling, and the three of us are related to each other. I'm Josh. That guy's Dustin. That guy's Corey. What's up, fellas?
Another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise, and we are sitting here recording this on a lovely Tuesday evening. It's the Tuesday after WrestleMania. Yeah. WrestleMania, here's my question for you first before we get too involved in kind of running down the rundown, at least for Dustin, because Corey didn't watch much of it. Slacker.
Barely any.
Amateur.
Dustin, they were hyping this up, saying that this was going to be the biggest WrestleMania ever, which makes me believe they were hoping that this would be the best WrestleMania ever. Does it come close?
Not even. Not even. No.
Maybe the biggest.
Maybe the biggest, definitely not the best.
But not the best. Now, were some of the storylines, could they have been considered some of, or at least in that top tier of best of all WrestleMania? And i.e., I'm really kind of leaning into the Cody finishing the story. Is that storyline, can that be held up there?
So here's the thing
about
the Cody storyline.
If you've not seen or looked at spoilers already, here's your spoiler alert.
Hey,
that's your fault.
It should be
That's
titled
your
Our
fault.
WrestleMania Recap or something along those lines, unless I get tricky with the titling. But yes, spoiler alerts if you haven't watched it.
So to answer your question, here's the thing about the Cody thing, finishing this story, in my opinion. I loved that and the way it ended for no other reason than the ring announcer. The ring announcer, when she announced him, Samantha Irvin, there was so much emotion in her voice that I don't know how you can't watch that and turn around and get some chills and turn around and just like, okay, this was cool. This is what wrestling's supposed to do. It's supposed to hit you in the feels. It's supposed to make you relate to it, and it was perfect on that end.
Yeah.
Well, I watched the Raw, first
lie.
Raw that I've seen in over a decade, and now trying to play catch up. So I crushed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pay-per-views from over a decade, quickly ramping up to play catch up. But on Monday night, when Cody came out, he made a point of calling out to Samantha. And
can you say it again?
Do it again.
Yeah,
because he knew that she was just so invested in it.
And she's great. She's one of, if not the best ring announcer in the business right now.
You can see it. You can see
I heard
it
something
in her delivery.
I heard that they usually don't tell her what's going on at all because they want her reaction to be genuine. And it's
and I think if I heard an interview with her, and I can't remember where, but she was saying
Chris Van whatever.
Yeah, it might have been Chris Van Vliet, and she's like, I have all of this memorized. I have to memorize everybody's hometowns, their weights. I've got to know all of that. I've got to know all the names of the titles and how it's supposed to be worded and everything because I don't know. Like, the match hits, and sometimes I'll look and be like, did they really just win? And then I've got to announce them. Right. And she's got so much inflection. Like, I love the way that she does Roman Reigns. Like, I love her Roman Reigns. And I love Chelsea Green.
That's hilarious.
Chelsea Green announcement is hilarious.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so good.
But as far as the storylines, yes, that one, loved it. Some of the other storylines in the WrestleMania weekend, the matches could have played out better than the storylines overshadowed the match. Does that make sense? I thought some of the matches were really boring. The crowd on Saturday, no offense to the WWE crowd on Saturday was horrible. In my opinion, for a WrestleMania. They should have been livelier. They should have been reacting a little bit more. And granted, it was like, 50 degrees outside?
Yeah,
and cold.
They're outdoor in the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. It was 50-some degrees out, and the only place there was heater was in the back and in the ring because they had heaters above the ring shooting down.
They have to, otherwise that ring was stiff as can be.
Yep.
When they do those outdoor shows, they also have heaters under the ring. Because of the boards. and to give some ambient heat for the boys that are running around in
I
their
wonder
undies.
if they had heaters under the boards with as many people were doing things or like under the ring because of people hiding under there and all the extra tables and chairs and Singapore canes and stuff hiding.
I heard recently that there is a guy dedicated under there during all their shows.
I think I heard something about that because I was thinking I heard something where there was a guy that was under there because somebody else was hiding and waiting. And of course, there's a monitor so they can watch the show under there. But there was somebody else there kind of doing tech support and giving cues as well and making sure they knew what was going on.
Yeah, the first time I heard that was in an interview with Hornswoggle, and apparently his
staying
his
under all show long.
So he was under there for the whole show, and he actually fell asleep for a while, and then the guy under there just started kicking him and saying, "Wake up! You're out. Go, go."
I'd believe it.
I will say that very first match with Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley on Saturday night, I'm watching that ring because I knew it was outside, I knew it was cold, and a ring has a certain give to it when you watch it, and there was no give in that first match. And I saw that very first bump. I think it was Becky Lynch took it, and when she ended up hitting that mat, that look on her face was not a selling point. That mat was not giving.
It had a different sound to it as well.
It did.
There was a different sound over WrestleMania weekend, and I didn't know if it was something they're doing because they're changing up a lot with production. So I wasn't sure if it was something on their end that they're playing around with, or if it was just because of the temperature, the environment that was causing things to just sound a little bit different.
Maybe they didn't put the heaters on fast enough or something.
Maybe. I thought you were saying that they went back to the old NBC Saturday Night Main Event ring where it's just it's essentially a boxing ring and just go.
Yeah. Nope, they're not going that far. They're trying to
hope not.
They're trying to take care of these guys and gals and make sure that they've got a good long career. I think they're getting to the point, especially with, Triple H leading the helm, which, by the way, we are definitely in a new era.
Yep.
It is the Triple H era. And I'm here for it. I'm loving it. Like, you can tell if you can't tell, you're not a wrestling fan, but if you are a wrestling fan, watching the product that it's being done by somebody who truly is a wrestling fan. Like the question of, wouldn't it be cool if, like, a wrestling fan will ask those questions. I don't know as Vince McMahon ever would ask those questions. Yes, he was probably a fan in some certain regards, but he really got into the business side of it, and especially with it being publicly traded, it was like it became too much, and it was like, but it would be really cool if, and we're seeing a lot of those really cool if moments transpiring now.
I think the difference between Triple H and Vince was Triple H will ask those questions. He'll say, wouldn't it be cool if, and he takes some advice from certain people. Vince would always just say, hey, I think it's cool if you do this, so do it.
Yeah.
So how much Something to Wrestle With have you guys listened
to? With Bruce Pritchard, hardly any.
I've listened to an obscene amount. If you listen to a few, which, by the way, listen to the older stuff, it's absolutely hilarious, especially when Bruce is doing a whole episode on Roddy Piper or a whole episode on Dusty Rhodes and whatnot, because the impressions are just flying and it's beautiful. But he comments about working with Vince, how too many people will go in and they'll either tentatively say, hey, Vince, I had an idea, and there's no conviction to it. And he's just like, well, if you're not sold on it, why do I even want to listen?
Yeah.
Right. But then you also have the other side of the coin where people come in and they're like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. And then it's like, whoa, I make the decisions. What are you telling me what to do now?
Right.
So Bruce really got in the habit of saying, hey, Vince, what if? And he would start, what do you think about if? And just kept posing these what if scenarios. What if we did something like this? Or what if we did it like that? And give him a couple options. But as what do you think about this? and make him think about it for a second. And then once he saw the wheels turning, then that would be the opportunity to say, well, I was talking to so and so, and they said they could do this, or that they would like to do that, and it would play into that. And what are your thoughts? And just kind of planting the seeds, and then letting Vince take a hold of that.
Yeah.
However, Triple H, he's a different cat, and he is a student of the game. We're talking a guy that really didn't have a whole lot of interest in, or at least from what we've seen, going off to Hollywood and doing his own thing like so many other bigger names. And he was just in there and doing the work and knowing that, look, at some point in time, I'm going to be done in ring. So what's after that? And then being almost as obsessive, maybe not quite as obsessive as Vince, who reportedly only sleeps like 4 hours a night and doesn't take vacations. And when he does go on vacations, he takes the entire writing team with him. So that's crazy to me.
You can tell the difference in the boys and girls in the locker room too. The way they carry themselves, the way they're performing, they actually enjoy being there right now.
Yeah.
You just tell that and how their body language.
So I saw a clip of an interview with Triple H talking about his experience with CM Punk this time around. And he's like, it's not even the same guy. It's not even the same guy. This guy is so excited to be here and so invested and so creative. He's having so much fun that we're like, okay, while you're injured, let's keep you in the mix. Let's do everything we can. Instead of sitting at home, let's have some more fun. How can we do this? And that's another thing. So where Vince had everybody coming up and all these people telling him with all these ideas, so then he just had to make the decision of what it was, but then you had people like fighting it. Whereas I think Triple H, coming from that worker mentality, is like walking to the boys and the writers and whoever and going, hey, what do you want to do?
Right. Yeah. And it very well could
what
be
works
like
here. What do you think about that?
It definitely seems a lot more collaborative. Yeah. And I'm excited. I don't know if you guys saw this from last night, but the trailer dropping tomorrow, I believe, on WWE's YouTube channel, Behind the Curtain. And it is a documentary that's basically going back in October when they were putting together this WrestleMania and all the behind the scenes. We've never seen it exposed like that. Maybe some indies that have done similar things, to try to show a little behind the scenes, or some of the, like Beyond the Mat type of a feel where it shows a little bit of it. Nothing like this. This is WWE going into the biggest show that they've ever done, the WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania without Vince there, without him being at the helm, and you've got all of these legends coming back in to, and what does that look like? And even the thing with like that Vegas kind of press conference, all of that, when you've got Rock coming back and everybody's like, oh, we're getting Rock versus Roman. Cool. We've been looking forward to this for a few years. But wait a second. We really want Cody versus Roman. And them having to figure out what to do. Like if they expose some of that, show some of that, them calling the audible, so to speak.
From some of the clips, it sounds like that's something they're going to expose.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there was a soundbite of The Rock saying, look, we had a plan, and, the fans said that's not what we want. And so we had to change it up.
Yeah. And then rolling with the Cody crybabies. And it was like, I guess, technically I was a Cody crybaby, because it's like, I want to see Rock versus Roman, but I want to see Cody finish the story more. I'm invested in this. It's like, I want to see it.
Because I'm in that time frame of just finished up WrestleMania 2012, and then the next WrestleMania will be 2013. Both of them is Rock and Cena headlining. But I mean, you look back over 10 years, 12 years ago, and The Rock comes in off of being at Hollywood, and Cena's like calling him out for being this once in a while visitor,
Part-timer,
and
yep.
people hated
He
him
touched
for
base
it,
on that
and
too,
they,
though.
Yeah.
and they rooted for The Rock. But this time around, he comes in, and people are like, "Whoa,
So, and
no!"
here's the thing that
Hey, you're
Yeah.
interrupting our story.
I don't
I
remember.
don't want to see you come in and interrupt my story. Let's finish this.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was one or both of you that I had kind of mentioned about this, but I can't really remember another babyface that has been so universally loved by the fans since Hogan. Like, I'm talking universally loved, where it was everybody. The kids love him, the adults love him, everybody loves him and wants to see him win, and they're always rooting
True
for him.
baby.
A true baby. Because we've had, I mean, since Hogan, it's like, I'm thinking about the babies, and it's like, no, there's always that segment of the fans that boo against him. Even when Rock was a baby, there were people that booed against him. When Cena was a baby, it was like, hey, we love Cena. Cena sucks. And it's like, you're always getting
talking
that.
You're talking to the wrong guy, because the second that they turned off the lights at WrestleMania 3, I was anti-Hogan.
Okay, so maybe we're going to like WrestleMania 1 or 2 Hogan, but still, Hogan's the last like true baby that was over on a main event level that I can
On a
I
main
can
event
recall.
level.
Yeah, main event.
Sure.
I'm sure there have been others, especially, you know, lower cards and stuff, but it's like truly over to where everybody. The what?
Sting?
Maybe?
Can you think of anybody that like really hated on him?
I mean, when he was Surfer Sting, I can't really think of anybody. But when he was NWO Sting, or Black and White Sting, the Crow Sting, yeah, people were hating on him.
Who?
Oh, the NWO fans. There were so many NWO fans that just they were
They didn't want him
all
in there.
NWO. And then when he wound up, you know, joining Wolfpack, it's like, but are you really a true baby? And then here's the other thing. He's doing the Crow
Wolfpack
gimmick.
was just tweeners.
And he's doing the Crow gimmick. It's like, is that even a true baby when you're descending from the rafters and hitting people with a baseball bat? It's like,
So now my question is, when it comes to Cody and Roman Reigns, and based on the rest of the matches over WrestleMania, do you think that maybe, part of me does, part of thinks that maybe they focused too much and too heavily on Roman Reigns and Cody finishing the story, that they didn't give some of the other storylines enough build up,
enough time to
for
breathe.
WrestleMania? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the perfect example of that was Sami Zayn's program with Gunther.
Correct.
Going into it, I mean, hey, I made the prediction. Gunther's going to win. Like, clear. There's no way that Sami is beating him, because I just don't believe it. I don't believe this Sami. If it was Sami from 2 years ago, I believe in that Sami. But I didn't believe in the Sami that was leading up to it. And it's like they just threw it together. However, that backstage vignette of him with his wife and kid, and then going up into Kevin Owens, like, it hit me in the feels, and I'm getting emotional. I was like, this is the Sami that we want. This is the Sami we've been longing for. Where has this Sami been for the last month? And I think that's where it was just, there was so much attention on the Cody Roman bloodline story that I think it took away a little bit of that opportunity. And hey, from that one vignette, they didn't need much. Like, give him 3 more minutes of airtime in the last month, and that would have been good.
Do you think that might also play because they apparently, from what my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had more build-up with Chad Gable?
They did.
And then swerved us on Sami Zayn.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know what they're getting at. And here's the other thing.
Did it feel like a swerve?
It didn't feel like a swerve. It felt like an abrupt
Felt
stop.
like it wasn't the right decision.
And then a right turn. It was like,
correct.
I felt like we were going this way and you just jerked me over here. Like that's what it felt like. And so it was a little disorienting. And maybe that was because Sammy was getting lost in the shuffle prior to that. I don't know, but Sammy, and especially with the Bloodline storyline, Sammy was such an integral part of that Bloodline storyline. And it's like, this is, again, I think it was a missed opportunity for them to bring a little bit more emotion out of it and a little bit more build up. But by the way, that match was phenomenal.
Great match.
Yeah. Hey, should we run down some of these matches, just kind of go through it a little bit?
Yeah, go through the rundown because, again...
Okay, so...
And now I caught highlights from that they played at Raw, so I've got a loose idea of what happened. We'll be checking out the pay-per-views and such going forward.
I do not have these in order of how they appeared on the card. I've got them in order of how...
You're fired.
They're in order of how we wrote them down from the predictions, and that was from I think WWE's website.
There you go.
So we had the Andrade, El Idolo, and Rey Mysterio against Dominic and Santos Escobar.
Did anybody get that one?
I got it, yeah, because I had picked Rey over it. So I got that one just because I kind of thought that with it being Andrade, I couldn't see that happening, and at the same time, to me, I was expecting and I think you might remember me saying this. I thought that the Judgment Day was going to take L's all the way across the board, with the exception of Rhea Ripley. Now, the only thing I didn't account for was the Money in the Bank cash in. Okay, Dusty,
you called it.
You
accounted
for it, but you did say Seth was going to win, so it's like,
and he didn't. Correct.
Anyways. So Rey Mysterio, and then, hey, Corey and I, we both predicted that Jason Kelsey was going to show up. We just predicted that he was not going to get hands-on, and he was definitely hands-on. And I think I even mentioned showing up in a Phillies Rey Mysterio mask.
That he had done that in a Rey Mysterio mask, and then Rey reached out and, hey, we need to get you a Philly one.
Yep. So that was pretty cool to see him and Lane Johnson show up. Really cool.
And Josh, you sent out the comment on Saturday about why didn't any of us pick Snoop?
Right.
I mean, we should have picked Snoop. But here's the deal.
There.
But last year, Snoop got hands-on.
This is true. But last year he got hands-on because Shane O'Mac blew out his knee.
Shane ripped that. What was it, his quad or something? He did the Triple H thing?
It might have been both quads or something. It was like a Vince McMahon injury that he had. So
it was
father, like son.
Was it a quad or was it ACL?
I don't know. It looked
brutal.
Shane,
I think it was the quad.
And hey, to his credit, he tried to get up and continue.
And it was like he was one-legged, and the ref had to get him out of there for Snoop to come in. And who to be a fly on the wall for when someone comes running up to Snoop and says, hey, run out there and give somebody a people's elbow.
Well, I don't think they told him. I think he made that decision. He pulled that call.
Yeah.
And Snoop, he's up for whatever.
Right. There was that match. And hey, I was thinking about this. If I ever do like reactions or like of full matches, I've got 3 ways I'm doing reactions, because I'm not going to get into the Dave Meltzer 5-star. We're giving thumbs. Like, that's it. It's either going to be the Hacksaw Jim Duggan, it's going to be the Orange Cassidy, or it's going to be the Batista.
So the question is this a rating on how the match is or just the outcome?
I think that this is, for me, how the match was in general, because I've gotten weird and I've gotten old, and when it comes to wrestling, I don't care if there's a botch. I don't care if there's a missed spot. I want to know, did it make me feel something?
Okay,
and
so
if it made me feel, so for that match, that gets a hacksaw.
Absolutely.
It's like, that was good.
All the way.
Then I've got Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi versus Damage Control. We all guessed that correctly.
Dustin's breathing heavy.
Yeah. Dustin's definitely going with the Batista on that.
And last night on Raw, just proved my point that I've complained to you so many times about, Josh. Jade has not improved a millimeter. She's still horrible.
I watched that
She
match
is
from
the
Raw.
two move. She is the Bill Goldberg, the two move. It's not a spear and jackhammer. No, it's a kick and whatever the name of that move is that she tries to do. It is the stupidest thing.
It's okay. I'll give you the Goldberg. Just be
It
Ultimate
does.
Warrior.
I'd rather watch Ultimate Warrior than Jade any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Okay, I initially thought
Ultimate Warrior cut promos.
I initially thought Jade was more Ultimate Warrior than Bill Goldberg. Now I think she's somewhere in between. And by the way, I'm saying Bill Goldberg from like his undefeated run in WCW.
Correct.
Bill Goldberg. I'm not talking about Goldberg from the last few years because he improved.
He's improved, absolutely.
Minus almost killing The Undertaker.
Took 15 years, but hey.
He's improved. Oh yeah. Corey hasn't seen that one. Wait till you get there.
I saw the Undertaker's The Last Ride series on
so he kind of mentioned
the network.
It, yeah.
So yeah, and I saw videos and clips of it all over the internet, and I'm like,
but here's the thing,
gosh.
Naomi.
The only thing worse
Naomi.
than that would be that that super match thing with Triple H and HBK against the Brothers of Destruction overseas.
Yep. That
where
one from Saudi.
Triple H tore his pec and Shawn Michaels has no hair and broke his nose and
so
the
you
other
haven't
two couldn't
seen
do anything.
You haven't seen the Seth Cody from last year, then, have you, Corey? Where Cody ended up tearing his
I know what happened. I know what happened.
That was painful to watch, but that was a good match.
I know what happened, and I also caught the video of Cody saying how it happened.
Yeah.
And it was just ego lifting.
Yeah.
He got in the gym
accident.
and saw some dude with muscles walking in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, watch this." And
Gotta be a man about it.
And he's like, "Uh-oh."
Dude, that right there, like that made me more of a Cody fan than I have ever been.
Yeah.
I think we all know what it feels like to wrestle with some injury. None of us know what that feels like. And the fact that he was doing that and then getting like whipped with Singapore canes in the pec and the shoulder, and it's in the Hell in Cell of all matches, it's like crazy. Yeah.
I also watched they just released the Cody
the American Nightmare Story
video.
Or whatever. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that one. And apparently they've got a film crew that's been following him for the last year, just leading up to this one.
So we'll see a new one about him finishing the story.
So there will be a new one about finishing the story. So,
yep. So for me, for that match, the women's 6-man, I've got to go with the Batista for the main reason it didn't make me feel anything, and I got up and walked out of the room. Like I left. It was like kind of boring. And the sad part is, I'm with you, Dustin. I love Naomi. I think that she is a tremendous in-ring talent, and she's got personality that just oozes. Bianca has grown on me.
She has.
She's always been a great talent, and her personality is starting to come out a little bit more. I really want to see a heel Bianca, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like almost there, and I'm just waiting for it to happen, because I think once that happens, I think she's got me.
Now the damage control they were playing, I think there was one of the big issues with it. I think there was a big communication issue.
Yeah.
They weren't able, there's, you have these primarily Japanese speaking
Asuka and Kairi
wrestlers. And then, there's just, it was a big jumbled mess. And I feel bad for Naomi and Bianca and having to wrestle with Jade. So
it was hard. I get what they're trying to do with Jade. Jade has she's got $1 million look, and it's going to make them a lot of money. But man, we got to figure out. And some people can't. Some people will never be able to get the in-ring athletic background done. I think
Right.
our time in the wrestling industry, we understood, we saw people coming in that were like college and high school athletes, and they're at a high level in athletes, but then they get into pro wrestling and it's like, you can't move the same in
Can't do
here.
it.
It's a world of difference.
You get it is its own animal. You get power lifters come in there, and 2 minutes in, they're blown up.
Yeah.
They also are able to shoulder press and squat these massive amounts, but to lift a live body in the air is like they can't.
Right.
And then somebody half the size does, and they're just sitting there
They're like,
befuddled.
how?
They can't wrap their head around
Yep.
it because they don't understand the dance. But then you also get guys that come in and they do like triathlons, and they're gassed running the ropes like twice.
It's a different cardio.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
It is completely different. It is its own animal. The only way to train for it is to train for it.
Yep.
Here's the last thing I'm going to say on Jade. I've seen interviews with her. She seems like a very, very nice person. She seems like a very genuine person, a good mother, loves her family, loves wrestling, and I
Got
get
her head
that,
on straight.
Kudos to you.
Yeah.
However,
not ready.
Maybe this is not for you at this moment. Maybe you need to spend more time working matches, working the indies. I mean, too many people have been just thrown into it.
She's been in for this long. I don't know. I mean, she's definitely got like a very low ceiling in what her ability is. And what I'm more disappointed in WWE at this point, because they've got all of this opportunity and all of this knowledge. Why have you not put her in a position to succeed? Because let's just face it.
They were too focused on finishing the story.
Well, even WCW with Bill Goldberg did that. Like, they brought the jobbers in there to really emphasize. And even when they put most of the people in there to wrestle him, not being William Regal, but they put most of them in there, he still had an okay match. It was only when they told him, hey, we want you to go in with William Regal and we want it to be, like 10 minutes. And at that point at his career, it's like, oh, you're asking way too much. Because then it wasn't going to work.
No, I'm going to argue with that. It's not. It was way too much. No, it's William Regal.
It was way too much for Bill Goldberg.
It's William Regal.
Right.
What? To listen and follow directions. He had too much attitude or too much ego at the time. Whatever his issue was, it was his issue.
I think it was mostly him getting blown up and winded because he wasn't in pro wrestling shape. And when you're blown up to that level, like your body shuts down and you can't listen. You can't hear anything because you're in
the same
survival
issue that
mode.
we were talking about just a minute ago. I mean, you got a professional football player coming in and 2 minutes in the ring and they're like gasping.
But to me, it's like they're missing out, and they missed the opportunity with Jade to put her in a position for success.
Yeah.
If you can bring in Johnny Knoxville to have a match, and it was actually a pretty decent match, it's like, come on. If Johnny Knoxville can do it, then why not? Like, why can't Jade Cargill? All you need to do is get somebody in there that's willing to take that challenge on, and that is going to say, I'm going to make the most out of this, and I'm going to put her in a position to succeed.
So they did that years ago with the ladies, and they took a guy that we can all say could go with almost anyone,
Finley,
and put him in charge of the ladies. You know who else was in charge of the ladies for a time? Dean Malenko.
Oh yeah,
that guy was a maniac. Just don't give him a microphone, but.
Right.
And I think that was just because nobody ever gave him a microphone. You give him enough microphone, but he's the Iceman.
Okay, we're only on match 2. Let's move on.
Okay.
Match 3.
I got the 6-pack ladder match, Judgment Day, New Day, Awesome Truth, A-Town Down Under, New Catch Republic, and DIY. None of us
anybody get anything.
None of us expected Awesome Truth or A-Town Down Under to win. Nobody got any points for that one. However,
so I told Josh, I thought about that, and then I thought, no, there's no way they're going to turn around and give it to the two comedy gimmicks
Correct.
that have been for the
and
last.
You know
2
why?
weeks.
Because, and I kind of thought the same thing, but I think we're so programmed to it being WWE under Vince that they never would have. However, under Triple H, if you're a fan, of course you do that.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay. And that match, there was some disgusting spots.
Yep.
You expect that out of a ladder match. The guys went all out.
6-team ladder match.
A 6-team ladder match, yeah.
12 guys trying to figure stuff out.
It kept the pace going. It kept me entertained.
Right.
It hit me in the feels in both ways because I don't think I was ever so disappointed to see A-Town Down Under grab those first belts.
Right.
And I'm not sure I've ever been so excited to see Awesome Truth get the second belts. For me, that was a big old hacksaw. Like,
and can you give a shout out to the female referee who a lot of people may not have noticed this, but when Damien was trying to grab that ladder and she yells at him, Damien, and he ignores her, so she reaches in, touches his leg to tell him that ladder's broke.
Yeah.
Don't climb that ladder, but he did it anyway.
Yeah, and they did, and it was him and Miz, and they climbed up, and when they tried to do that, I don't even know if it's supposed to be a choke slam. I think it was supposed to be his end of days or whatever. That's not even the right name for the move, but whatever his finisher is, I think that's what they were trying. But as they put the pressure on to start to launch off, it buckled and it caved out. Yep. And it's like, you guys were lucky you didn't get injured on that. And that was the referee trying to save you, and you ignored her.
Yep.
So yeah,
that's
extra kudos for her.
I don't know your name, but kudos to you, ref.
Yeah, I can't remember. I really hope that WWE, and I've already noticed they're starting to do this a little bit more. They're starting to actually announce the names of the referees. And it's just going to take us a little bit to get it, because under Vince McMahon era, you can't announce the referees. They have to be invisible. They're only there to be like a gimmick, basically. Oh, and we can't say the words pro wrestling. Thank you, Triple H.
Back. Yep, absolutely.
It's pro wrestling.
Yes.
It's always been pro wrestling.
So I caught the last, on night 2, the last 5-10 minutes. So I got the whole finish and finishing the story thing, and after the fact, but that, and the fact that they mentioned it being a new era. They mentioned it, the announcers mentioning it being pro wrestling.
Yep.
And we're not doing the sports entertainment thing. And the fact that we have blood, we have language. I'm good with censoring it, but if you're really in a fight, you're going to say something, and things are going to happen. And
how about that hot tag in the ladder match?
Dude, the hot tag in the ladder match.
In the ladder match.
It's a ladder match, and R-Truth is on the outside waiting for a tag. And he's being told it's a ladder match. But once they tagged, then he goes in hot tag.
And he comes in.
Oh, and then he winds up pinning and counting his own pinfall in the middle of the match. It's just like.
And then last night when he came in and interrupted the Judgment Day's I lost it. I popped bigger than life. I'm like, oh,
R-Truth is.
You are getting right up there above Santino.
Yes.
I haven't been watching it, and I popped.
It was so hilarious. Good. It was so good. But yeah, that match, definite double up. The Usos, Yeet versus no Yeet, Jay versus Jimmy.
How was it?
Oh, it was good. Whoa.
I dozed off. I kid you not. I dozed off.
How?
It was so slow.
Okay,
what
they
everything
started
else
slow.
Was that it was so slow. So slow.
They started slow.
I might be willing to
referencing.
I might be willing to come up to an Orange Cassidy.
You might be willing to give it an Orange Cassidy. Okay, maybe. I could kind of tolerate an Orange Cassidy, knowing that you said that it was kind of slow. At the beginning, it was slow.
There's no
this would be my biggest critique
slow.
Of Jey Uso is he's been around Roman so much, trying to hear the audience and gauge where they're at before you get ready to speak. He just hasn't finally tuned it yet. And he's letting it drag.
The
audience wasn't in it.
Yeah.
And you're in a stadium.
Yep.
You won't hear the audience. So you got to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And Jimmy looked blown up in the first 2 minutes. So,
well, he did kind of look blown up.
Jay has kept himself in ring shape. Jimmy has not.
There was a moment he was blown up, and maybe part of me was just also because they kept hammering how cold it was that night. I was chalking some of it up to that, especially because they came out and they started so slow that it was like, okay, any heat you had in your body, you just kind of let that dissipate out, and now you're running cold. But
it's a long walk.
I enjoyed it. I mean, it got me in the feels. I loved the whole thing back and forth where like the true super kick party was coming out. It was like exchanging super kick one after another. They hit it. And then Jimmy is begging Jay for forgiveness only to then pop up, push him away and super kick him. And it had me like all the feels. It got me, elicited emotion out of me. I was in it. I thought it was a big one.
Did nothing for me. I went to the bathroom after I woke up.
Dustin and I did predict that correctly. That's where Corey got a loss on that one.
Yeah.
The next match, we all took a loss because it was Gunther versus Sami Zayn.
Correct.
I'm
glad, but yeah.
I'm happy that Sami got it. I'm a little disappointed, like either my math's wrong or WWE's math wrong, because I wound up doing it in a couple different calculators to try to figure out how many days Gunther has actually retained the title, and it was 665 days. It's not 666. And maybe it's just me being a pastor, being a man of faith, that it's like,
666.
Why have you got to go with 666 or 666? And here's what I think they did. They're counting the day that he won it and the day that he lost it, rather than it going
he's champion on both those days.
But
no,
it's not a full
champion
day.
on both those days. Doesn't matter.
He did.
Nobody said it
champion on it.
Nobody says that he ends it, but on that day,
to me, a day champion on that day. A day to me. And hey, I'm bringing in biblical things here because it's a biblical thing with the 666. It's a night and a day. He didn't have 666 nights and days. He only had 665.
Who are you arguing with? I'm just telling you their rationale.
I know what they did, but it's like anytime you're saying how long the reign is, it's like, I thought we were done padding the stats when the Vince McMahon era was done. Like,
no,
okay, we're still doing that. We're still doing that. Okay, we still
did it
doing
before
that.
Vince.
202,000.
It was just, and I know it still happens because there are wrestlers being interviewed and they're like, "What are you weighing in right now?" He's like, "I don't know. Let's see. What do I feel like being weighed in at right now?" And then just throw a number out there.
Right. And you get guys and.
But if they really wanted 666 days for some reason, here's the simple solution: have that match on Sunday. So, anywho, the match itself,
that would have been 667.
The match itself gets a big hacksaw from me, and I am so glad that I have never been in the ring with somebody that chops like Gunther. Nope. I've been in with some stiff choppers. I think Gunther takes it all. And I was listening to a podcast. I don't even remember who it was. It was somebody that chops all the time. And they had asked about chopping. And they're like, who's the one person that you don't want to chop you? And he said, he never has, and I never want him to, and it's Gunther. And it's like, he's the one. And they've wrestled in Japan, and they've taken the best of them. And they're like,
I want to see Gunther and Eddie Kingston. I want to see him go at it.
Oh.
Just for nothing more than chop fest.
That would be something.
Kobayashi's retired, right?
The what?
Kobayashi's retired, right? Probably crippled at this point.
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, that was a good one.
I mean,
okay,
that
then
guy was put together with friggin' duct tape.
Yeah. No, good match. Definitely watch that one from it. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. We all predicted it correctly. Rhea winning. It's hard for me because it was the first match. Right. And I remember after the first match, I've got to go back to my feelings right after the first match happened. I was like, oh, if this is how we're starting this show, this might be the best
It's gonna be a
WrestleMania
rough
ever.
night.
No, it was like, it came out good, and I was like, this is how you want to start off. Like, I was surprised they were letting the ladies kick it off, but they did, and they did a good job. It was good. Like, I liked it. I remember there being a couple spots that they did. I don't remember exactly what they were, but there were a couple different spots that happened, and I was like, "Ooh, no, you don't have to do that." Like, no, you don't have to. But they were, and it was a good match. I thought it had a great build to it. The one thing I will say about it that gives, I mean, I would say it gave me a hacksaw moment. The one part that gave me the Eddie or the Orange Cassidy was finishers don't mean anything anymore.
Right.
But that was really
That's
the whole WrestleMania. Everybody's kicking out of everybody's finishers multiple times, and it's like finishers just don't mean anything anymore.
They need to fix that.
Yes.
Or you have to hit a guy like 14 times with the same thing before
You have to do what Cody did on night 2.
before they stay down.
It was like, what, 6 different roads, whatever he calls it, the roll of the dice,
Yeah, now
or
now
the last
he's
rights, or the
chaining 3
Crossroads.
together
Crossroads.
to make it a thing.
yeah.
So if I gave Jimmy and Jay an Orange Cassidy, yeah, I'll give Becky Lynch and
Yeah.
Rhea a thumbs up.
And then you got the main event, the tag match: Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns versus the Rock and Rock. We all predicted that correctly. Rock and Roman's winning. It wound up coming down to Bloodline rules afterwards.
I enjoyed it.
Big old thumbs up for me. I loved the fact that Rock was pulling his final boss routine, and there should have been numerous disqualifications, but he was telling the referee, "I'm your boss.
Stop counting or you're
Don't
fired.
count.
Yeah.
Don't do this." It was just like, so he was cheating, and at the same time, as a fan, you're watching and you're like, yeah, he's your boss. I mean,
What are you going to do?
you do it,
And
you're
the ref's
fired,
like-
and then he's going to bring somebody else out and reverse your decision because he's the boss.
And the ref's apologizing to Cody.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the refs
But
apologize, saying,
at that
what do I
point
do?
in time, but at that point in time, the boss is telling you to do all that stuff. We've seen this show. Where's Stone Cold at?
Correct. Yeah.
Because he'll do what he wants anyways.
Yep.
He was still in Texas.
I did see that at one point The Rock like tweaked his knee or something, and somebody was speculating they thought he like tore his Achilles, but he came out of it. You look at him coming out to do his 40-minute promo on Raw, and he was walking around very slowly and stepping on every single rope to get up the turnbuckle. He wasn't doing his regular, hey, we're going to skip the bottom and we're going to go straight to the middle. It was, all right, I got to step on the bottom, and then I got to step on the middle, and then I need to quickly move this leg up here. And it was clear that something was not quite right. So,
I didn't notice anything.
but we're
So
also
I
talking
guess
the
that's
guy
just-
that pulled his blew a hernia or double hernia,
Yeah.
and then worked a match. So not surprised that he worked through it.
Yeah. And to me, I think that's just a testament to how well the match went. I didn't notice it. Like, if it happened,
Good.
I didn't catch it. I didn't see it. And I usually catch most things
I think
that are
it was,
a little off.
I think he slipped slightly when they were out in the crowd.
Oh, that could have been.
I think it was just a quick little slip, and then he recovered.
Oh, they showed something in the ring where he turned from something and like almost fell into the corner and tagged, but then he tagged back in and was good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I just saw the review, or not
Yeah,
the
I'm
review,
not
but
sure
the
on that one.
the news on that.
Yep.
Night 2.
On night 2, we had Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, known as the Pride, against the Final Testament of Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain,
Special guest referee.
with a special guest referee, Bubba Dudley, because it was a Philadelphia street fight. Why I didn't think about that. Now, here would be the question. Like, did he actually get into a physical capacity? Like, we
I don't
could have
know.
made that one.
he did push on the chest and said somebody's name, and then they pushed on the next person and the next person.
Yeah, but
and get
would
the
you
tables,
call that?
but
Would you call that
he
like
physically touched
physical?
him. Plus, carrying
If
cross.
so, you could also call it physical because he was counting.
Carrying cross backed him into
No.
a corner.
The push would be physical.
Yeah. But it was the Devon, although it was, I think, Montez.
Devon,
Get
get
the
the table.
Because that's what they were
Oh,
doing.
well then no.
Sorry, folks,
then
I'm
that
eating
doesn't
popcorn.
count.
And why none of us, it's Philadelphia. Why none of us thought of any
Right.
ECW guys? Like, what's wrong with us? Dude, that was a good match. I liked the match. I'm giving it a hacksaw because it was fun. It was exciting. The way that they did it, I didn't expect. I think Dustin was the only one that predicted Lashley and the Profits to go over on that one. But, hey, it was good. It was good. It was believable. And because it did have that throwback with Bubba in there, there was just that little bit of nostalgia that kicked in. It was fun. So I
will say vertical stripes are not Bubba's friend.
Vertical stripes.
that.
Hey, vertical stripes are nobody's friend, really. I mean, yeah.
Stripes, no bueno.
Nope. The next one I got down was L.A.
Didn't
Knight.
work for Virgil.
Yeah, against AJ Styles. I'm the only one that predicted this correctly. You guys thought that AJ was going over. I was convinced LA was going over.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed
it.
Not as much as others on the show, but I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
More than an Orange Cassidy, it gets a hacksaw from me. So I got a kick out of it. Not a whole lot to say about it. It was a good match. I didn't want to get up and leave. At the same time,
You weren't on
I
the edge
wasn't
of your
on
seat?
the edge of my seat. So
Yep.
it was just
Agreed.
a good match. The U.S. title match, Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton in the three-way. We all predicted Logan Paul would win and retain. Logan Paul did win and retain. Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
I'm giving it 2.
That was, hey, I'm keeping it on one hand unless it's the Batista. But
I enjoyed it.
It was so good. And everybody should be able to look at Logan Paul in the ring and say, okay, the guy's got the skills, he's got the ability, he understands the business. I may not appreciate how quickly he got into it, but at the same time, he's got star power, and he did. And I don't necessarily like his character all the time.
Right.
But the guy's good. Like, he's
And
the
you'd rather
celebrity
watch him
wrestler
than
that
Jake
actually
Cargill.
deserves the belt. Like,
And you'd rather
That's
watch
not even
him than
that's not
Jake
even a
Cargill.
comparison.
Because
He can
has
work.
enough. There
he's
you go.
good.
There you go.
He's good.
He can sell.
He can sell. Oh, and come on, with the I thought for sure it was KSI, and I think I had mentioned that KSI was going to be out there to get revenge on Randy Orton. Instead, it was the other streamer, I Show Speed. And he like shoves Randy, and I was like, ooh, you went just a little hard with Randy. That's
Yeah,
no
that's
bueno.
what I thought, too.
Fortunately,
I'm
he's
like,
wearing
don't do
that
that.
padded prime bottle, and Randy just boots him right in the sternum with this padded prime like costume on, knocks him back
flew.
5 feet, rips it off of him,
Yep.
pulls him up on top of the announcer's table, and hits one of the stiffest, sickest RKOs I've ever seen.
On the announcer's table.
And I popped so hard for it.
Oh.
And then to I Show Speed's credit, he stayed down and he did not move. He sold that thing. Michael Cole on commentary thing, and I or maybe it was Pat McAfee's like, I think he might be dead. I think Randy might have
dead,
killed
yeah.
him. It was hilarious. Yes.
Yeah,
Good
Beam's
match. Io Sky versus Bailey. Bailey wins, becomes the champion. That gets an Orange Cassidy out of me. I like to see
Agreed.
Bailey win. I thought it was a good match.
Bailey looked hurt.
There were some good spots, but then there were some other things that it was like, you don't need to do that, and because you did try to do that, it just doesn't look right. And that's where it was like, I don't mind botches in a match unless, like, the botches or the missed spots or just the awkwardness pulls me out of the story of the match. When it pulls me out, it disconnects me from it. If it's just like they messed up and they go right back into doing something, that's fine. You break a table because the legs weren't out, back to the tag match with the Philadelphia. You break the table and it's like, let's go do it again. And you grab it. Like, I'm okay with that. No big deal. Right. As long as it's only like one more time you try it. If it would have broke a second time, it's like, just leave it and move on. But this match, it was good. It definitely wasn't a bad match. It just gets an Orange Cassidy from me. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. This is where Dustin missed the point because he guessed that Seth Rollins would win. Corey and I both correctly predicted Drew McIntyre winning. That match, big ol' hacksaw.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually better than I was expecting it to be. And I have high expectations with Seth being in there. Not as high with Drew being in there. Still high, but not as high. It exceeded my expectations for that match. The feels, the drama, the build-up, the roller coaster ride that it took you on, the near finishes that were just kind of crazy.
All the way up to the end with the CM Punk.
All the way up to the end,
and
he
great.
gets it. And then Drew stands over on the table to CM Punk and talking about how he's going to end your career. And he pulls the leg out and rips the brace off and hits him with it. And then here comes the cash in. I hate Money in the Bank cash-ins.
Well executed, though.
I know. It was well executed. I hate Money in the Bank cash-ins. However, at the moment that he did that, this moment he got up on that table and they didn't cut away and go to the back like they normally did, I knew right then, here comes the cash-in.
Yep.
And my first thought was, you know what? This might be some of the smartest booking ever because Drew doesn't need the belt. He's got a Punk storyline. And now they're going to Clash at the Castle, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, and that alone could be the main event. And it's like, you don't need a belt in that regard. And then I thought, Damian Priest, he could benefit from the belt more than Drew would. I was happy to see Drew actually win the belt and to be able to hold the belt up, and even for 5 minutes, but to be able to hold it up and have the crowd reaction. Because the last time he did that was in COVID. It was in the Thunderdome, and there was no crowd reaction.
So there's a booking theory that you have to go in cycles of having the wrestler that will make the belt, and then using the belt to make the wrestler.
Yeah, and that would make sense. I mean, Seth made that belt. Seth was the workhorse champion. He brought back prestige. I mean, it was a new championship, is what they're going with. But it's like he built that up.
By putting the belt on Damian Priest, you're saying that this guy will get to the next level. He's going to the next level right now. And he's going to start working guys one-on-one to take him to that next level. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have Cody coming in, and I totally expect him to be the man, the workhorse with that belt, and elevate that title.
And there's an argument to be made that even with Roman, when he was being that champion, it was the belt that made him as big as he was.
So,
just because, I mean, his character prior was kind of like, do we really like him? I mean, the fans they weren't sure if they even would like this guy or do anything with him. And I think the combination of that belt and Paul Heyman, like, that combo is a combo that you could have done with anybody and it would have built them up. But that combo with Roman there took it to a level that I wasn't expecting. And like, I'm glad that Cody even said, I think it was on Monday, that he appreciates what Roman did. And yes, you brought that. I hated the whole walking out with two belts. I'm glad they had one belt. And boy, would I love if they just change that belt and get rid of the big stupid WW on it.
I
want a
heard
redo of the Winged Eagle. What you did with the World Heavyweight Championship from Big Gold, do this one for the WWE Championship from the Winged Eagle.
Yeah, we can talk belts another time.
Yeah.
But I heard that Cody recently in an interview said that if things do go his way and he's able to finish the story, that don't be surprised when he changes the belt and brings on a new belt.
Yeah, and along those lines, I think we both gave
it's needed.
hacksaws for that one, right, Dustin? For Seth and McIntyre? Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Because that belt, the one that Seth had, the one that Rhea has, I like that belt.
I like it. It's
nice
still got
belt.
the WW, but
it's not the whole thing, and it's sort of a merge between the Fed logo and Big Gold. So it's
when it first came out
two.
and they first unveiled it, I looked at that thing and I was like, that was inspired by Big Gold.
I can work with that.
Yeah. And that's one of those that, like most of the WWE belts, I don't want a replica of them anywhere. That one, I would want a replica of because it looks pretty. It looks pretty. And so on those lines,
unlike The Rock's People's belt, which I think looks like a big yellow piece of bubble gum thrown onto a gold nickel.
I haven't seen it well enough in a close-up.
I hate it.
I'll have to take a deeper look at it. But yeah, so that's the main event. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Bloodline rules, which meant anything goes. And we wind up having Cody finishing the story. But as I'm sitting around in the living room, and I think, I want to say it was Logan that was sitting there, and he's like, what's going to happen? And I was like, well, you're going to get Solo Sikoa that comes out. Or actually I said that Jay's going to come out, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, or Jimmy's going to come out, and then Jay's going to come out. And then I was like, then Solo's going to come out. And he's like, and who next? And I was like, well, I would think that it has to be John Cena next. Right. And I was like, that was just kind of my guess.
John Cena?
And then he's like, okay, and then what? And I was like, well, then The Rock comes out. And he's like, and then I was like, and then it's got to be Stone Cold. Like, it has to be. That's what it's got to be. I did not see the Shield music playing.
I did not either.
And when the Shield music played, Dustin, did you for a second think, wouldn't it be cool if Moxley showed up?
I thought it was. I did. I thought for a split, because we haven't seen him on AEW for a while.
Correct.
And I'm sitting there for a minute, and I'm like, no, it's Mox.
Well, like, at first it hits, and I was like, oh, it's Seth. And then it didn't.
Run in.
That would have been.
Am I the only one that couldn't watch John Cena without seeing the bald spot?
No. We don't want to talk about that. You can't see the bald spot because you can't see him. And then
you can't see it.
And then as we're waiting, and it's like he's getting ready to whip him, and I'm like, the glass is breaking. Here it comes. And then you get the dong.
Yeah.
And it was like the lights go dark.
I didn't see it.
Nobody saw it.
Nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw it coming. And then there he is, and choke slam, and it was like, and then Cody's able to finish the story, get the pin after the 8th crossroads or whatever it was for the match, and he finally gets it. And I think I saw him summarizing how he felt in the back, and they said, how do you feel? And he's like, I feel full, like a sense of fullness in me.
Yep.
And it's like, that was the perfect description of how I felt in that moment. And yes, I felt like Samantha Irvin for a second, wanting to tear up, because it was like, you got me invested in this. I've been rooting for you so hard for this. Even though you're not my favorite wrestler, it's like, I wanted you to be here. I wanted you to do this.
Not just 2 years.
Yeah.
Not just 2 years.
No. And not just for Cody.
From the moment that he said, this isn't working for me, I'm going to do my own thing.
Correct.
And I'm going to show you.
But even before
Yes,
that,
please
to
show
me,
me.
like that story goes even farther back because it goes to
yeah.
Dusty holding up the WWF belt and then never being able to keep it. And it's
Well,
like,
and now spoilers for the American Nightmare video that they have going, because that's
right.
the whole thing.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, it goes back, and it's not just
Yeah.
for Cody, and it's not just for Dustin. It's for, or not for Dusty.
What?
It's also for Dustin, which
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed that Dustin didn't come out. However, I was surfing on Twitter the whole time, or X the whole time, and I did see that Dustin was there and he was up in the press box. So he actually got to be there and watch it. And that alone was like, okay, cool. You were there and you got to see it in person, where I think last year he wasn't there. And it was like, that was kind of insight to me of like, okay, either Vince is just that big of a heel that he doesn't want him in the building, or it's just not happening, which still disappointment, but no. So when I look back on all that, overall, Dustin, how do you give WrestleMania 40? Do you give it a Batista, a Cassidy, or a Hacksaw?
Because of the ending alone, it gets a Hacksaw. If the ending would have went a little bit differently or anything else, it might have been closer to an Orange Cassidy.
Okay.
But it was definitely a Hacksaw.
Yeah.
Yep.
It gave me a Hacksaw because I thought
the
the
best.
beginning. The what?
What's your
Not
best?
the best WrestleMania. Oh, WrestleMania 3. For me, hands down, WrestleMania 3.
Oh, the same one where we see Bundy slamming a little person and getting ready to squish him.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, there's Dustin sitting next to me at the closed circuit. Squish him! Squish him!
I was.
Such a heel.
Civic Center, Des Moines, Iowa. Yep.
Yep. All right. And so for WrestleMania 40, when it comes to the wrestling related prediction championship, I came in with 10 points, Dustin with 8, Corey with 7. I am El Champion for the next month. And then it'll quickly lose.
What's
And
the
I
next
also
TPB?
realized when I was thinking about this the other day that this is technically the first singles championship in wrestling that I have ever held.
Well, don't we have an AEW wrestling pay-per-view coming up?
Dynasty in next week?
Is that next week?
I think it's next Sunday.
Where do you watch that at?
Fight
We'll
TV
talk offline.
or BR Live or yeah.
Whatever they're calling it now.
Anywho, I guess that kind of wraps up our WrestleMania recap episode. So yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for enjoying. Keep watching wrestling. Let us know if you got any topics you want us to discuss for future episodes. And we'll catch you in the next one.